Josh, we are not late to our 15 minutes late today.
One more time, not late to our 15 minutes late.
Man, every day, every time we go live, it changes a little bit. Sometimes it's 2 o'clock, sometimes it's 2:30, sometimes it's 3. But here we
Make
are.
America on time again.
Let's not get started too early. But yeah, today I got lined up for us a kind of a reaction video from a relatively new rep in Congress is Gill, kind of going after the NPR. Did you take a look at who she was? The NPR CEO?
Yeah. She kind of bounced around between like media companies. She was on some like foreign affairs committee appointee by Hillary Clinton. Kind of a creature of Washington type career, and she basically replaced the former CEO of NPR in January 24. So like just over a year ago. She's brand. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. She's fresh.
Okay. So that is what we're going to do here in a second, is react to that. If anybody is joining us, feel free to comment and we will respond directly to it. Maybe, depending on what it is. Ready, say, go.
Gill.
Thank you, Chairwoman Green, and I apologize. I'm getting over a cold, so I'm losing my voice here. Ms. Marr, I want to start with you. Just generally, would you say you generally agree or disagree with the following statement? The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles?
I would not say I agree with that, sir.
That's good to hear. It's interesting because a lot of your thinking, as expressed by your public statements, is deeply infused with economic and cultural Marxism. Do you believe that America is addicted to white supremacy?
I believe that I tweeted that, and as I've said earlier, I believe much of my thinking has evolved over the last half decade.
It is.
We're going to stop this thing pretty often, Josh, but my thinking has evolved seems like an answer that maybe it might have evolved more radical than less radical.
Yeah, and the other thing to note is she says, "Oh, my thinking has changed over the last half decade." Like that's 2020. That was like just happened, So what changed exactly?
That would have been peak summer of love.
Yeah.
Ball.
But I think
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, one of the things we kind of briefly touched on her history. One of the most controversial things, which I hadn't seen this whole interview before the show started, and it probably comes up. But she was on blast for saying, basically during COVID, she said she was very passionate online, and her outspokenness against disinformation online, specifically as it relates to the 2020 Trump campaign, January 6th, and with COVID-19. And she said, word for word, in an interview, I believe with The Atlantic, that the First Amendment was the biggest hindrance to putting a cap on disinformation, which of course she has been blasted for many, many times, but hasn't been fired and hasn't seen any real consequences for it.
Yeah, 2020 was definitely a dividing line, a litmus test, if you will, for kind of this friend-enemy distinction that, I put in the thumbnail. Friend-enemy distinction. That's what we're looking at here today is friend on screen now, test or, trying to question and catch the enemy in a lie, which I think we will here in a second.
Why did you tweet that?
I don't recall the exact context, sir, so I wouldn't be able to say.
Okay. Do you believe that America believes in black plunder and white democracy?
I don't believe that, sir.
You tweeted that in reference to a book you were reading at the time, apparently, The Case for Reparations.
I don't think I've ever read that book, sir.
You tweeted about it. You said you took a day off to fully read The Case for Reparations. You put that on Twitter in January of 2020.
Apologies, I don't recall that I did.
Okay.
I'd no doubt that your tweet there is correct, but I don't recall that.
Okay. Do you believe that?
Josh, do you read books?
Yeah.
Do you forget that you read books sometimes?
Not by title. I might forget some of the contents, but an entire book, it's not exactly something that just slips the memory.
So the question then we have is, are we dealing with a liar or are we dealing with a retard? Because I mean, those are the only two options here.
I think we're dealing with a retarded liar. I mean, I mean,
No way NPR would make us a retarded CEO.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, she's obviously lying here. Here's an issue that I've come across on Twitter is people that want to tweet things and then not defend them. It's like, defend the thing you're tweeting. Like, yeah, your mind can change a little bit, but make that case when it comes up. Don't deny the tweets themselves. It's like, I've tweeted some fairly extreme things, yet I would defend them.
And
double down. Let's go.
And maybe it's just me, Zeb, but like when these people get on the stand, they're so like locked up. You know what I mean? Like if it were me and I were like, let's play this out hypothetically. Let's say she totally meant to tweet that. She didn't think she would get in this position, so it didn't matter. And now she has to defend it. If she wants to play it off, why not be like, yeah, I read the book and I remember tweeting it, but I don't like, like sometimes you just get excited in the moment or, honestly, like, do you remember everything you tweeted? I just don't remember certain things sometimes, like play it off a little bit better, not just be like, just be like, I don't recall that. I don't remember reading that book. I don't think I ever did. Yeah.
White people inherently feel superior to other races?
I do not.
You don't? You tweeted something to that effect. You said, I grew up feeling superior. Ha, how white of me. Why did you tweet that?
I think I was probably reflecting on what it was to grow up in an environment where I had lots of advantages.
It sounds like you're saying that white people feel superior.
I don't believe that anybody feels that way, sir. I was just reflecting on my own experiences.
Do you think that white people should pay reparations?
She said I was reflecting on my own experiences, but in the tweet she says white people as a generality.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like,
she goes again. See,
why doesn't she say I feel superior? I felt superior.
Or advantaged.
Yeah.
Of my race. Well, she did in the moment when she tweeted it, but then she backtracks here, right? And says I was, kind of a anecdotal thing. Well, when you tweeted it, it wasn't anecdotal.
To grow up in an environment where I had lots of advantages.
It sounds like you're saying that white people feel superior.
I don't believe that anybody feels that way, sir. I was just reflecting on my own experiences.
Do you think that white people should pay reparations?
I've never said that, sir.
Yes, you did. You said it in January of 2020. You tweeted, yes, the North, yes, all of us, yes, America, yes, our original collective sin and unpaid debt, yes, reparations, yes, on this day.
I don't believe that was a reference to fiscal reparations, sir.
What kind of reparations was it a reference to?
I think it was just a reference to the idea that we all owe much to the people who came before us.
That's a bizarre way to frame what you tweeted.
What does that mean? The people,
collective
the slaves
sin
that
and
came before
unpaid
us?
debt, yes, reparations, yes, on this day.
I don't believe that was a reference to fiscal reparations, sir.
What kind of reparations was it a reference to?
I think it was just a reference to the idea that we all owe much to the people who came before us.
That's a bizarre way to frame what you tweeted.
My question was, she said we owe a lot to the people that came before us. Is she referring to the actual slaves? If so, how do we pay them back? Why not just say we owe the people that are their descendants?
Yeah, well,
I'm not sure what she even means. I mean, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to take from that.
Well, she doesn't know either. Well, that's the problem with these people that want reparations. You have two types of people that want reparations. People that don't understand that reparations aren't possible, and then two, people that just want free things. So she's in the forward camp.
Just a reference to the idea that we all owe much to the people who came before us.
That's a bizarre way to frame what you tweeted. Okay, how much reparations have you personally paid?
Sir, I don't believe that I've ever paid reparations.
Okay, it's just for everybody else.
I'm not asking anyone
Seems
to pay
to be what you're
reparations, sir.
suggesting. Do you believe that looting is morally wrong?
I believe that looting is illegal, and I refer to it as counterproductive. I think it should be prosecuted.
Do you believe
to the
it's
full extent of the
morally
law.
wrong, though?
Of course.
Of course. Then why did you refer to it as counterproductive? It's a very different way to describe it.
It is both morally wrong and counterproductive, as well as being
You
illegal.
tweeted, "It's hard to be mad about protests," in reference to the BLM protests, not prioritizing the private property of a system of oppression. You didn't condemn the looting. You said that it was counterproductive. NPR also promoted a book called In Defense of Looting. Do you think that that's an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars?
I'm unfamiliar with that book, sir, and I don't believe that was at my
You
time at
tweeted
NPR.
that you read that book, but
I don't believe that I did read that book, sir.
do you think that a few years ago, NPR educated America about, quote, the whole community of genderqueer dinosaur enthusiasts? Do you think that that's an appropriate use of tax dollars?
I was not
What
on
the
NPR at the
hell?
time, sir.
That's not the question, though. Do you think that that's an appropriate use of our tax dollars?
I think our tax dollars that we use are to be able to provide a wide range of
So I'll
perspectives.
take that as a yes. You do believe that that's appropriate. Your health advisor at NPR also stated in an interview that, quote,
I don't believe that I did read that book, sir.
do you think that a few years ago, NPR educated America about, quote, the whole community of genderqueer dinosaur enthusiasts? Do you think that that's an appropriate?
I don't recall the fudge packosaurus when I learned about dinosaurs in school.
That's crazy, dude.
What, dude? Well, because I don't even, like, I work in radio. I don't even know anyone that listens to NPR. Damn, man, what the hell are they doing over there? Gay dinosaur, like, that literally sounds like the underwater basket weaving, like the parody of what we say they say. Gay dinosaurs or genderqueer, whatever it was, genderqueer dinosaurs. That's insane.
Use of tax dollars?
I was not at NPR at the time, sir.
That's not the question, though. Do you think that that's an appropriate use of our tax dollars?
I think our tax dollars that we use are to be able to provide a wide range of
So
perspectives.
I'll take that as a yes. You do believe that that's appropriate. Your health advisor at NPR also stated in an interview that, quote, fear of fatness is more harmful than actual fat. Would you like to explain how fear of fatness is more harmful than actual fat? That's an editorial at NPR.
I am not familiar with the editorial, and I don't believe that was published during my time here.
It's called Diet Culture is Everywhere. Here's how to fight it. Do you think that that's an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars?
I think any reporting on health is an appropriate use
You've
of taxpayer
spent-
dollars, yes.
And you think that editorializing that fat is not unhealthy is appropriate?
I don't know what that article is, sir, and I'm not familiar with it, so I
This
couldn't
is
say.
fake news. Do you think that basic accommodations like doorways or seat belts represent, quote, latent fat phobia?
I don't have an opinion.
It's
on that,
also
sir.
from NPR. Do you think civility is racist?
No, sir.
No. Your outlet ran an article entitled, quote, when civility is used as a cudgel against people of color. That was on All Things Considered. Would you like to explain?
I'm not on the editorial side, sir. I'm not familiar with that story.
You talk about how NPR is news. This is editorialization, and I'll read it. For many people of color in the United States, civility isn't so much social lubricant as it is a vehicle for containing them, preventing social mobility, and preserving the status quo. This is garbage. I'll spend all of my time doing everything I can to ensure you guys never get another dollar of taxpayer funding. This is complete garbage. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Gill. I now
Complete garbage, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of like, I assumed they were there to talk about the budget. I mean, I heard about that earlier in the day, so I was a little curious, like, where he was going with this. But I mean, gay dinosaurs. What was the one he just said? The like how being
Fat,
cordial,
fat is
yeah.
more dangerous than. Sorry.
Diet culture is worse than no. Do you got hold on? What was it?
Crazy, dude.
Fear of fat
Fear of
is
fat
worse than fat.
Yeah.
That's what it
Phobia
was.
Is worse than actually being fat.
That's what it
That's
was.
Crazy.
You know what we got to do? You know what we got to do another show on? Maybe we can do this with Rodney tomorrow. We got to tonight go and find some of these NPR articles and go over them with Rodney and get him to kind of blind react to him. I think that'd be funny. Because normally that's I think that stuff is kind of conservative slop. But if those are some of the most extreme examples, I think we can find some nuggets in there.
Yeah, I mean NPR is placed itself along with like PBS and some of these other news, National Geographic types, that they've placed themselves in the center and tried to kind of play off of unbiased news reporting, and it quite simply is not. I mean, if you have editorials like that, I mean, you're not even close to the center.
Yeah,
But I mean, defunding NPR is going to help lead to this pendulum swinging that we are seeing happen. You know, this idea that people have of, oh, that's a center, then I'll be okay if I'm just a little bit left. When in reality, they're left, and then everybody else is trying to shift further.
Yeah, and a perfect example of this is, so I was, I work in radio, and when I first got started in my career, of course, like I'm not going to get my own show right off the bat. And so most of the jobs I was applying to was kind of like the one I'm in now, like, part-time roles or producer roles. And the average salary for like a radio producer in the United States is like 35 to 40K. At NPR, I applied to one job at NPR, and their range was from 60 to 80K. So of course I wanted that job, but didn't get it. But that's just to kind of show you, like, the lowest of the low rung job that they have there is almost double what it is in the private sector.
Why would you think that is? Do you think they just have that much funding?
Yeah, exactly. And like for like, honestly, like a job that anyone could do, $80,000 a year. If I had got it, I wouldn't be saying this, but I'd have to jump ship now if I'd got that job. But yeah, it just goes to show you the kind of like wasteful spending at any level, in government and NPR. Like, who really needs it?
NPR isn't directly government funded, though, is it? Maybe a little bit.
A little bit. I know it gets a lot of its funding through like donations, but I think it is national public.
Probably come through
Through
government
NGO,
funding,
yeah,
so,
exactly. Subsidies, that kind of stuff.
So I mean, money's fungible. I think they mentioned something in there about money is like she kind of blew it off where it said that that's not NPR, but that's the problem. Money is fungible, and if my tax dollars are funding an NGO that's then funding NPR, we're essentially funding NPR. I mean,
Right.
NGOs are just shell companies at this point to funnel money to opposition. Again, we're at this point of friend enemy distinction. This we talk about Pete Hegseth and this this group chat leak.
Mm-hmm.
I know y'all talked about it this morning. I don't think anybody honestly cares about the group chat link and the bombing of the Houthis or this or that and everything else. I don't think anybody actually cares. What I think people care about is this friend enemy. Oh, Pete Hegseth bad, so group chat bad, let's get him fired. Or Pete Hegseth good, group chat bad, we're not going to get him fired. Like, nobody actually cares about the contents of it. They care about solely winning for their team.
Right.
Which I'm fine with, because that's what it's going to inevitably boil down to. And I've been saying that for 8 years.
And I will say this, I kind of like, I kind of agree with Kennard on this one a little bit, where I do think this is it the worst thing ever to happen? Of course not. But I do think someone should be held responsible. I think, as a show of good faith to the base, we've been complaining about how, like, NPR, for example, it's all these BS things, it's all these BS NGOs and whatever. It's waste, fraud, and abuse with our money. And I think to hold someone accountable for a mistake, it's not a great mistake, but it is a big mistake. I think to hold someone accountable for that, whether it's Mike Waltz, whether it's Tommy Chung or whatever his name is, Jackie fucking Chan, who knows? It'd be fine.
Isn't he married to like some Chinese?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what people were saying. Is he's married to like a Chinese spy.
All right. First of all, this is what it all boils down to, Josh. It always ends up here. We shouldn't have foreigners in government, period, across the board. I don't care if it's Vivek or Mr. Wong. I don't care. They shouldn't be married to foreigners, and they shouldn't be foreign in our government. They shouldn't be able to hold office. Quite simply, this is how, I mean, between the nepotism and the questionable spy accusations that can come up, it's like, why even risk it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Like that's the craziest thing. Because even if you have like almost a moderate take on it, which is like, non-white people should be allowed in the government. Like that's how they would frame it. I mean, where basically like, oh, what are you saying? Only white people can run the government? No, but like, how does it make any sense? Like you're saying for people to be married to people who basically work for other foreign governments or just like attached to foreign governments in general, have allegiance.
Swalwell and Fang Fang. It's like,
Yeah. First generation immigrants should not be allowed to hold office. At the moderate level. At the moderate level.
But I mean, luckily you have some people out there, not Lindsey Graham that was endorsed by Trump. Somebody else that was, or not Lindsey Graham that was endorsed by Trump, but somebody else that wasn't endorsed by Trump, and as Trump is trying to primary as Massey has pushed forth a bill for dual. What do you call it? It's a dual citizenship act where if you hold dual citizenship, you can't hold office. So you have to get rid of your other citizenships if you want to hold office, which is perfectly reasonable, dude.
Yeah.
Josh, what's the over-under on that passing?
Ooh. Like 2%.
That's a high number.
Yeah.
That's a high 2%. There's a lot of carrying on there. And the question is, why isn't it going to pass? It's simple. It's a simple answer. Because we are owned by somebody other than Americans. It's that simple. If this bill doesn't pass, that is the only reason we have it, is because Americans don't run America.
Yeah. There is no and this applies to both sides. You could say, well, that bill would exclude Ilhan Omar. It would also exclude Elon Musk. It would also exclude a lot of people who donate to the Republican Party, like Miriam Adelson. I mean, I don't even think she's a dual citizen. I think she just is straight up from Israel.
I don't care if you're Canadian,
Yeah.
Mexican, Jewish.
I don't care if you're Alaskan.
I don't care if you're, what do you say, Alaskan?
Yeah. They don't. You can't be from Puerto Rico.
I don't care. Chinese, Taiwanese, I don't care. If you are not solely American citizen, you shouldn't hold office, and I think that's what this bill is pushing for. Now, I mean, I would stack some stuff on top of that, but hey, it's a good start.
I'd go so far as to say you have to be from the mainland too. No Puerto Rico, no Virgin Islands, no Alaska, no Hawaii. Definitely not Hawaii. We tried that once, so to speak. Oh, he's pondering.
That would be kind of hard, though, Josh.
Yeah, that would be hard. We're having fun here, dude. We're having fun. Look,
the
the
non-Hawaiian citizen representing Hawaii, a non-Alaskan citizen.
We'll get someone from North Carolina to do it. That'd be better. But
close enough. Find somebody in the Keys. Yeah, you're representing Hawaii from now on.
Alaskans can represent Alaska, but they can't be president.
I mean, Hawaii's got full-fledged X-Men trying to run their state. Get Tulsi Gabbard over there with her road.
X-Men.
Street haircut.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know that's where it's from?
She
admitted that.
She admitted she dyed her hair because of Rogue from X-Men.
Yes. I'm pretty sure.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool, actually. I mean,
kind of cool. Dude,
it's
like
dorky.
45.
Yeah, it's dorky, but yeah, what other reason could it be?
I mean, at least that's not purple.
That's true. That's true. That would be a red flag. What's the difference?
But yeah, obviously, American citizens should be in American offices, and if you are something other than American, then You can't be loyal to a single nation with dual loyalty. You can't be loyal to America with another citizenship. Like you just loyalty doesn't work that way. It's all or nothing. It's a zero sum game. It's that simple. So you either leave, we'll deport you, or you give up your other citizenship. Dude, I'd go as far. This might be controversial. I'd go as far to say that you can't have dual citizenship and live in America.
Well, I don't even get like, why does dual citizenship exist?
There are cases like, I mean, even in my family, where you have somebody coming from, let's say, Australia that marries somebody in the U.S. and they want to retain their Australian citizenship. Or, I mean, wherever.
Boykins be gone. Boykins, get them out of here.
It's a little bit further down the line than that, but yeah, I don't know, man. I think if you want your American citizenship, then you have to reject the other. I mean, this goes all the way from Ilhan Omar in Somaliland to, I don't know, anybody in the EU. Americans should run America. Americans should be in America. That's the way it should be.
So kind of since we're on this topic, basically of like foreigners in our country, I saw I saw it on Instagram, but it looked like a TikTok, and it was this Indian girl reacting to a study that basically showed when polled between what would you rather have in America, illegals from like South America or legals from India, and 18% said legals from India. What do you say to that?
I mean, that poll is probably accurate.
No. I believe the poll.
The majority of the poll.
I believe the poll. I'm asking, what do you think? Like, what would
the majority of the poll?
that you'd rather have Hispanics?
Why most likely is because as much as I don't like either one, just from a nationalist perspective, not the people themselves, but from a nationalist perspective, general perspective, is that Indians take higher end jobs or middle earning jobs that the natives would like to have. And so there's obviously going to be some type of resentment there towards them. Whereas, some of the South Americans coming in are more lower end jobs. I mean, they've run the farms for decades. I mean, they've been here longer. They've not as necessarily assimilated, but they at least contribute to society in a way that isn't completely upending what America was built on, which is the middle class.
Yes, and because I was thinking about this earlier today myself, and I think where it comes from is, despite the fact that there is a racial, I mean, there never has been racial unity anywhere on the planet ever. And so it just stands the fact there is a racial divide. I think it was better in the 90s, but that's because people were hard on crime, or locking up the super predators, and only like the genuine like blacks and Hispanics that were like actually here to like contribute and do good, they were the only ones left, and things were fine. Relationship was relatively good. There's always a little bit of resentment, but that's just unavoidable. I think though that when it comes to blacks, Hispanics, and Indians, you do see more cohesion in American culture, or modern American culture, with blacks and Hispanics. And I know like that may seem counterintuitive, because in India, they do have like this sort of like hard work culture. What's the word I'm looking for? Like striver type culture. You know what I mean? They're constantly trying to move up in the world.
Similar to the East Asians.
But I think culturally, like personal vibes almost, white people jive more with American blacks and certain Hispanic cultures than they do with Indians. What I'm basically trying to say is it's easier for like your average white person to find common ground with a like hardworking Hispanic guy who doesn't speak English very well more than a hardworking Indian guy with a high-paying job who also doesn't speak English very well. I think there's less cohesion naturally because, the blacks have been here for hundreds of years. The Hispanics have been our neighbors for hundreds of years. The Indians just got here. I mean, like, how many Indians were in America 100 years ago, let alone 50 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think it solely boils down to being a generational thing where some groups have just been here longer. You could call it
Yeah.
assimilation. I don't know.
It's not assimilation.
I wouldn't
It-
call it assimilation, but I would say,
It's slightly better cohesion. That's what I would call it.
yeah, an understanding of the other people.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of understanding, but you have there's a culture that comes with it too, where even East Asians, Indians, some of these other cultures come over and they just have a different mindset. It's a predisposition, I think, genetically to think in a Eastern way. I mean, these Eastern religions, these Eastern cultures, they all flow from this universalism, whereas blacks and Hispanics don't have that universalist type mindset. And I think that plays a lot into kind of this cohesion that we have.
Yeah, and I think also like when you really get down to the nitty gritty, I mean, Hispanics, once you get past some of like the obvious, like like every society is just gonna, no matter what their main religion is, there's always hypocrisy. There was hypocrisy in ancient Europe, whatever, even though it was mostly Catholic. It just happens. Once you get past that, there is underlying the sort of cultural religion of blacks, whites, and Hispanics is Christianity, whether it be Catholicism with the Hispanics, mainly Protestantism with whites and blacks.
Even if it's nominal, it's still there.
Even if it's nominal, it is still there. And I definitely think that trickles down into the cultural ideas, and it's basically the nicest way of saying is that I'm curious to see what the poll would be on how do American blacks feel about whites versus Indians. Because it's just, I haven't seen a study on it, but I would love to see one because my intuition would be that despite the fact that there is black resentment of white people in America, I feel like if asked that, they would probably like us more because of the aforementioned social
I would agree
cohesion.
with you. I think, given the current position, the influx of Indians at this time are disenfranchising them more so than we have oppressed them in the future. I mean, that's I guess kind of what we're weighing here is white oppression on them from their mindset, white oppression on them greater than Indian disenfranchisement from immigration right now. I think that's what they would end up being, weighing against each other.
Yeah, but I think by the time they notice, it'll be too late. I mean, by the time they notice that white people no longer are in charge and it's all East Asians, it won't matter. Which I get. That's not the question I asked, but I just spitballing, thinking out loud.
Yeah. How long you want to go today, Josh? I think 35.
I'm good. We can go as long or so as we want to.
What y'all talk about this morning?
We talked a lot about the Pete Hegseth thing, and that's actually what I'm going to talk about my show on Saturday, which is basically the Pete Hegseth thing or the Signal scandal, Signalgate, not a big deal. What was interesting to me was the conservative response to it, which is basically the like circling the wagons on this issue. It was kind of bananas to me. Like Ken Ard, you and I would absolutely classify Ken Ard as a moderate conservative. He is a moderate conservative to a T. The audience of Wake Up Carolina turned on him almost because he was not rallying behind Pete Hegseth, because he was critical of his criticism was Pete Hegseth did not have a good response when pressed about these things. It was to deflect and blame the journalist, which I agree wasn't the smart thing to do. And I don't think we should get rid of Pete Hegseth, but it's fair to say that he handled it wrong. But people, I guess it's like we talk about this, and it's all I talk about on my Saturday show, basically, which is like the conservative party is so uncritical of itself that it'll never improve. And this is a prime example of that, where if the Democrats have any criticism whatsoever, whether it's valid or not, they can, like your mainstream boomer conservative just can't comprehend
Well,
it.
that's why we keep losing.
Exactly. Yes, that's exactly the point.
Think collectively, but also we come to this point of the tent's so large, and we have so many people crammed into it on this Republican side and everybody wants to call themselves conservative, like it's some virtue to have to hold the label that. Even the ones that aren't conservative hold it. That's why the conservatives keep losing, because they allow people inside of the tent that want to destroy the tent, essentially. And so,
Yes.
you have Pete Hegseth that needs people to rally behind him right now. Regardless of the signal issue, it's like, dude, we're trying to get things done. The signal thing was a non-issue. Put it past us. Let the left debate about it. Move on to the next thing. Pass this dual citizenship act bill, whatever Massey's putting forth. It's like, dude, we got bigger fish to fry than worrying about a signal chat, man. I mean, dude, where's Hillary Clinton's emails from 8 years ago? Like, we're still waiting on those,
Yeah, I mean that's my problem. That's one of the problems with Trump is he's a good campaigner, but how much can he deliver? Why not throw her in jail in 2016? I mean, I think he wanted to make peace. He underestimated how the establishment would push back.
Do it today. Jail now. What are we waiting on? It's never too late.
I know, man. So. You tell me, man. But before, I don't know if you were planning on ending it, but I did want to kind of ask you about the Thomas Massey thing. So we talked about, you asked me what the over-under was. What do you think? What side do you think Trump will take on it?
That's a good question.
Because if you would have asked me that in 2016, I'd say he'd be all for it.
I agree.
You ask me that now, I think that may be
the question would be also, which side does Vance take on that?
Are you kidding me? Well, I know you and I agree on that. Vance will not be okay with it. This is where I'm going to bring you to my side on Vance.
Maybe. Does his wife still hold citizenship? Where's my phone?
I can Google that real quick. Or are you going to do it on here?
Still hold Indian citizenship? That would be a good question. Because that would be a heavy weight pulling on Vance's side to kind of counter signal Massey's dual citizenship bill. I mean, this is, to me, it's a no-brainer. I'm sure it's not the first time it's come up, but it's definitely a big issue now.
Come on, I need to put it in Grok or something because Google sucks ass. Yeah, Google stinks. So, but just kind of playing off of that, because I can totally foresee a situation where Donald Trump gets on there, if this is put forward, and says, this is not American. We have big, beautiful people from all over the world, and they, just because they're from another country doesn't mean they can't be an American. I can totally see him coming out and saying it.
That's such a line, though, dude. It's like, this is the drawing. This is the question. This is the core question of what is an American.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Is if he says that, do you think America First is dead from a Trump point of view? Yeah.
It has to be.
I agree. I 100% agree.
You think that? I mean, do you think that's specifically why Massey's pushing it right now?
That's a good question.
Trump's counter signals a primary from Massey a week ago. Versus Lindsey Graham, Massey drops the Dual Citizenship Act to get passed in Congress.
So according to Grok 3, Usha was born in the United States. And it says there's no evidence that she holds dual citizenship. So probably not. But it doesn't matter that it's his wife. I mean, I think like her parents might be dual citizens. She's definitely got a relative that is probably here that's not a citizen, that is a dual citizen, you know? So like,
Well, Vivek definitely has dual citizenship.
ooh, that's a good one too. Is Vivek? He wasn't. Oh, well, okay. So like, how confirmed is that? Because he did run for president. I mean, I would 100% believe it, but like, is that like, do you know that?
He was born here. His parents didn't have citizenship when he was born.
That's what it was. Yes, that's right. Is Vivek Ramaswamy a dual citizen? It's loading in, courtesy of elongated muskrat. It's catering the response. There's no definitive public evidence to confirm whether Vivek Ramaswamy is a dual citizen. Vivek was born in Cincinnati, Ohio in 1985 to Indian immigrant parents, making him a U.S. citizen by birth, according to the 14th Amendment. Hashtag repeal the 14th.
And the 19th.
Are we done? Whose? Yours? Oh, no. Who?
You could probably still hear me in there. It was still picking up. Where's my phone? In my pocket. I just put it in my pocket. Oh, I never sent the. Sorry, there's nobody in here because I never notified anybody. Oh well. Too late now.
No.
Oh, well.
We should probably cut this part out.
Oh well. We'll leave it.
All right.
Screw it.
Fuck it.
Yeah, kind of unprepared today, I guess. Not really unprepared, just kind of wung it. We wung it, Josh.
Wung it. I like that. All right, but we're on with Rodney Berry tomorrow.
Yep.
I assume he hasn't confirmed yet to my knowledge, but he hasn't unconfirmed. So
Yeah, I'm sure Rodney will be here.
I'm going to be looking
talk
at
to
those
him.
NPR articles, see if we can't find any
play
silly
a
Billy
little game
stuff.
with him.
Yeah.
I got those yes or no games up there. I think we need to play one day.
That could be fun. I'd be down for that because there's a couple conspiracy theory ones in there. That'd be fun to get Rodney's take on.
Let's do this.
You know, like, does Russia have monkey soldiers, or did Stalin have monkey hybrid soldiers?
Prompts. Let's just pick one at random, Josh. Pick a card, any card.
Okay. I'm gonna go side deck a little bit over here. Oops. All right.
All right, what we got? Read it off to us.
Libertarianism is the best bridge for bringing liberals to the right. No.
No.
There's no point in bringing liberals to the right, in my opinion. Unless they're just
but that
now
wasn't the
right
question,
wing.
Josh. That wasn't the question. I would say no. I'd say the bridge. Libertarianism, I think, is a phase. It's a phase of wishing the world was better than it is. It's an understanding that, false understanding that people are inherently good and good things are just going to happen because people are good, which is not the case. At least liberals understand that people are inherently bad and we should do things to make them not bad. And that's what the right ought to understand, which a lot of them don't. We call it the right. Libertarians are still significantly on the right. I mean, you obviously have some left libertarians, but you know, if you're looking at the graph, right, we have quadrants of left, right, or halves of left, right, and then you have upper and lower halves of authoritarian and libertarian. Moving from, well, y'all would be left or right doesn't mean going down and up. And why do this when you can just go across? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I've got. Do you want to go? Because I've got something I just remembered from Wake Up Carolina today. Off-air discussion Ken and I had that I can get. I know what you're going to say,
ahead.
but I want to get your
What's the
opinion on it. So we were talking about like Christianity and conservatism, and how did he word it? It was basically along the lines of, oh yes, we were talking about anti-Semitism, and he said in America you have the right to be anti-Semitic. He said it off the air. He's like, I don't think people should be,
tell
but
them
they
too
have
much.
they have the right to be anti-Semitic. And I said no. I said, as Christians, we are not called to hate people. Criticizing a foreign government is one thing. Hating people because of who they are is another thing, or just hating in general
do
is
you
one
think-
thing. Even hating people
hold
because
on.
of their bad actions.
Is anti-Semitism the hate of Jews? Is that how you define it?
How I
Or
would
Semites?
Okay.
There's a technical definition, and then there's a definition that is used.
perfect question.
So what's the actual question? It depends on what is.
You're right. So I would say going up.
Ear. You need your ear.
Oh yeah, I don't need this anymore.
Go ahead.
Thank you. And might be a little nasty, but
throw it over
I
there.
got leaky ears.
Go ahead. You go.
But okay. So I would say anti-Semitism is basically just a specialized term to describe racism against Jews. Whether that be and you
so
could
how do you,
you
how
can
would
narrow
you
it
define
down.
the racism then? I mean, the question remains.
You can narrow it down to Jews as an ethnicity, people who identify themselves as Jews, or Jews as a religion.
No, I'm not asking on that part. We understand that.
So
that
anti-Semite, meaning the Semitic people of the Middle East.
No, I'm not asking about the people. I'm asking about the hate. Is it specific hate or being anti what they are after? The question essentially boils down to, is it an envious position from our side? Are we envious to the point of hating?
Okay.
And I would say it's not envy. I would also say it's not hate, yet it's still anti-Semitic. So that's the question of definition.
So I would say if you were to ask a Jewish person what anti-Semitism means, more often than not, their definition, and I'm talking about like the objective, like words have
ADL.
objective meanings.
Yeah, the ADL.
If you were to ask a Jewish person, their definition would be wrong. The actual definition,
Because they
I
like to
kind-
play legalese games.
Yes, and I would say
That's anti-Semitic.
So
what I just said.
racism.
I just said them liking to play legalese games with words. Me holding that position would be anti-Semitic on
Yeah.
its face.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's not me hating Jews.
according to them. So I would say, based on the more accurate definition of anti-Semitism, using racism like against blacks, for example, you can be critical of black culture. You can point out black crime statistics. You can point out group behavior in African Americans or just African people, sub-Saharan Africans in general. And you can go to a store and have a pleasant interaction with someone who is black and not hate them. You can be critical of groups and identify characteristics within groups without hating people, without hating the group, or being like cruel to someone on an individual basis. Like the ladies who cut my hair, they're both black ladies. They're very sweet. I had a great conversation with them yesterday. No animosity, no double take whatsoever. But on that being, with that being said, I can also talk about how there's problems within the black community. Same extension to Jews. I would say I am not a racist.
Right.
Because I don't hate someone automatically because of their race.
So what was the original
Same
question?
with Jews. You asked what is the definition of anti-Semitism, and I would say that's how I define anti-Semitism. How most Jewish, and especially Jewish people in politics, how they would define it as, Candace Owens had an interview with some rabbi. I forget his name.
Shmuley.
It was a different one.
Oh, the
but
other
yeah,
one?
Yeah, I forget. I watched
I can
both
see his
of them.
face.
But I remember he literally said that she asked him point blank, how do you define anti-Semitism? And he said, well, it can't be defined. It's
always
constantly changing.
Yep.
That is not what a definition is. It is definite. And so someone who is extremely pro-Israel can say, they can use these mental gymnastics. I don't like when people say that. Yeah, legalese. But like, he can say, well, the Jewish people are entitled to a state, that the state of Israel. That state is constantly under attack. If you don't want to defend it, then you think it doesn't necessarily need to exist. A Jewish state doesn't need to exist. Therefore, you hate Jews. You not wanting to support Israel is the same as wanting Jewish people to go extinct.
Me wanting
That
you
is
not to grab
true.
money out of my pocket doesn't make me anti-Semitic, though.
Yes. If
Me not wanting to send my children over to die in a desert doesn't make me anti-Semitic.
Yes. If I don't give a dollar bill to every homeless person on the street, that doesn't mean I want them to starve to death. The issue is more complex than this sort of baby, like, defined down legalistic definition, which I don't apply.
So what was the original question?
So I would say Ken and I were debating or discussing,
does
do you
someone have
the
a right to
oops,
be
did it again.
anti-Semitic?
Yeah, does someone have the right to be anti-Semitic? And I know what he says. He's saying it from like an American.
Well, he would say
like,
yes, they have the right. But he would also say yes, people have a right to blaspheme, which they ought not to.
Yeah.
So we come from different perspectives on this. I mean, he has a purely freedom mindset when it comes to it.
And really, I don't think he and I, in essence, disagreed. It's just like it was a semantic disagreement where me saying you don't have the right to be anti-Semitic.
I don't think it's hate across the board. I don't think it's hate at all. I don't think it's envy at all. I think it's love for family, for nation, and that's just the way it is. And I don't want somebody coming into my house and interfering with, I don't know, my marriage, my dinner, my TV watching. Like, I don't care. This is my house. Don't come into my house.
Perfect example. When I was in college, I had a roommate who was I met him through a Christian Bible study, and he was a super, like, how do you say, like, practicing Christian, where like he was constantly like preaching the gospel. He was constantly like trying to bring people to church and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But
Like,
which is
almost
great.
overbearing.
Yes. But that's besides the point. The point is he was going to like the local homeless shelter in my college town. There was a guy who was a hardcore drug addict, thief, who was constantly being kicked out of the homeless shelter. He brought him into our apartment to sleep on the couch. And he brought him to church before. I was familiar with who this guy is. And I told him, I was like, you got to get this guy out of here right now. And he was like, that's not very Christ-like. And I'm like, okay, well, Christ came back to life and could heal stab wounds. I can't do that. If he's getting kicked out of a homeless shelter, it's because he's a problem, dude. I have valuables that I'm a poor college student. I have things in here that can't be replaced. I am sleeping 5 feet from a guy who's got like a weird rash on his face. He could be sick, like it's summer, dude. He's not going to freeze to death.
We can
Get
help
out of
him,
here.
but he doesn't get to sleep with us.
Yes.
Yeah. Perfect example. We can help them, but they don't get to come over here and demand that they can sleep on our couch in our country and sit in the halls of Congress in our country and control our country.
And even that,
they don't get to do that.
That was a disagreement between two people whose names were on the lease. Even that's not analogous to what's going on here. We're talking about people that are coming into our house and telling us they're going to stay here.
Well, if he would have stuck around long enough, I'm sure he would have started telling you what to do.
Exactly. So you got to nip it in the bud.
But yeah, to the question of, do people have the right to be anti-Semitic? First of all, yes, obviously. Second of all, I don't agree with their definition of anti-Semitism. Third, it's not hate and envy. It's just a pattern recognition where we want to have our nation as a nation and not be influenced by outside sources or tribes to change our nation and our home. You know, I mean, I don't want people coming to my house and rearranging the furniture.
Yeah. Or eating out of the fridge.
This isn't hard. Yeah.
This
isn't hard.
It was kind of funny because, you know, this is something Ken and I kind of go back and forth on. You know, this is like, I try to avoid it on the air so I don't get myself into trouble. But he and I debate like Israel and anti-Semitism every now and then. So I thought it was kind of funny that he was defending being anti-Semitic, and I wasn't.
Maybe he's coming along, dude. Maybe he's coming along.
Maybe.
We'll get him there eventually. But yeah. All right, I'm gonna pick a card. Let's pick a card. We'll do like 2 or 3 more prompts.
Yeah.
Or you pick a card. It doesn't
Okay,
matter.
all right.
Any, mini.
Just grab it.
All right.
Man, these kind of suck. Christian rock, to quote Hank Hill, doesn't make rock better. It makes Christianity. Okay, I misread it. Does Christian rock make Christianity worse? I guess it's asking, is Christian rock ridiculous?
Josh, can you read? Christian rock, to quote Hank Hill, doesn't make rock better. It just makes Christianity worse. Yeah, I was watching a video the other day about they were talking to a Christian rock band, and the question was essentially that he asked him was, are the drugs and the partying and everything else a part of Christian rock band culture like it is with the other rock bands? And they essentially said it's exactly the same. There's no difference. It's all a facade.
I'm not surprised at all.
So
it's probably people that couldn't make it in rock, so then they just go, my Jesus. And,
Katy Perry, Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
I mean, all these, well, maybe not Taylor Swift necessarily, but she was her little country music.
I got one. Oh,
switch
baby.
up. But Katy Perry started in Christian music, and then she ended up, I don't know what she's doing now, lizard people, blah, blah, blah. Maybe we can pull out the...
Maybe her contract, because I haven't heard from Katy Perry in a minute.
I don't know, dude. She's probably on Ozempic trying to hide losing weight and then come back out all skinny like everybody else.
She is going on, she's riding Jeff Bezos's wiener rocket. She's going into space.
Oh, really?
On, what's it called?
Blue Origin?
Blue Origin, yeah. This one is, I am completely opposed to the error of the modernists.
Like error as in time?
Error. That's all it says.
I'm completely opposed to the error.
It doesn't say what the error is.
Modernist as in...
I'm opposed to modernism. Yeah.
Dumb prompt. Next.
That's pretty obvious. Yeah, we'll skip that. That's dumb. All right, here we go. DEI initiatives in companies should be illegal.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward.
This is maybe like a year old, not quite. I mean, that's already happening. I mean, Donald Trump election has already started that wave. It started before Donald Trump. I mean, you were looking at places like Microsoft and Boeing kind of rolling back the DEI initiatives, especially in companies. And you can see it kind of going across the board in some colleges now too.
And it's not even like, even operating on the moderate assumption that there's no genetic link between IQ and race or whatever, and it's not a competency thing. It is truly like a white supremacist system thing. I could almost, I don't agree with this, but I could almost understand the logic behind simply putting black people's resumes at the front of the list. Doesn't mean you have to accept them, but just put them at the front of the list. But that's not what they're doing. It's a quota on who you hire, not who you take interviews with.
Say that again?
Okay. What I'm saying is I don't agree with this.
I got that part.
But I can almost understand.
If you take the assumption that IQ and a culture and nothing else matters outside of what a resume is.
So what I'm saying is,
and the system is systemically racist, then blacks should have priority.
All right.
On acceptance.
So let me rephrase it. It's changed now. The modern consensus has changed now. But like 2007, I would say a vast majority of white Americans, maybe not vast, but a good 50-50 believed that black people couldn't get ahead because of systemic racism. If you are operating from that assumption, I can understand the logic behind saying, let's have like a week where we're only accepting black resumes, and then after that you can accept white ones. I think that's wrong, and I wouldn't support it ever, even if that were true, but I get it, is what I'm saying.
Well, I think they did a study a while back where
I don't think that would be illegal.
Different names on different on different names on the same resume, and they rejected at different rates.
Yeah, exactly. Saying like,
which that's wrong.
Yeah. Well,
according to the Civil Rights Act.
Yeah.
But,
look,
we have the Fourth Amendment, right?
Look, if your name's John, Jim, Joe, and I'm hiring, that's just going to go a lot longer with me,
Yeah, we have freedom of association.
Rajesh and
until it was overturned in civil rights.
All right, here we go. Bam.
I'm about to lose all of them.
Something dumb? Yeah, communists belong in jail. It's like boomer.
I thought this was religion. Yeah.
No,
communists don't belong in jail. They belong in the grave.
On the end of a rope. The government should prevent individuals and corporations from acquiring outsized power.
I mean, me and you probably agree on this one.
Yeah. I agree that we shouldn't have absolute free market capitalism.
I think that's what it's
arguing.
Yeah,
that's kind of what it's arguing.
Should we regulate monopolies? Should we regulate, I don't know, Google, Amazon, things like that?
Break up, say, like, you get one Walmart per county.
I don't think that's what it's arguing.
I'm okay with that, though.
Walmart.
I'm a Walmart hater.
Well, I don't know. They got Amazon.
You can have as many Dollar Generals.
You got Amazon now, so. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with regulating larger businesses so they don't become overbearing where you have an oligarchy, which is what you have now. I mean, that would include Elon Musk and
and
Tesla, Twitter, whatever, however you want to capitalize it. I think it's more along the lines of not necessarily a company, but a singular individual.
Yeah. And I'll say, like,
because I mean, I have no issue with the Waltons in the government that I know of. I mean, they aren't funding oligarchic principles.
Yeah,
does that make sense? It's we have Bezos buying the Washington Post and then trying to convert that into a propaganda machine.
I think
the same thing with Elon and X. I mean, you can make that argument.
It wouldn't be wrong to say, and I don't even know if this is true, but I remember hearing a story about how at one time there was this tripod company that they sold like exclusively on Amazon, and it was like it was so profitable. It was making up 1% or like
tripod, something
like that. And it was like they were making up a huge portion of the sales on Amazon. And so I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm just using it as an example. The story goes that Jeff Bezos basically started another company, or through Amazon started making Amazon Basics, a one-to-one copy of it, and then excluded that company from selling on Amazon. And then so instead of them getting like money selling on Amazon, Jeff Bezos gets the full profit. Again, don't know if that actually happened, but hypothetically, if something like that were to happen, I'm okay with the government coming in and saying you can't do that.
I'm sure they do something like that, man. I mean, if you go on Amazon and search for anything that's not hyper-specific, you get an Amazon Basics of it. Like I looked earlier for a headphone jack extension. It's like you have your sponsor, which people pay for, and then you have an Amazon Basics, and then you have a sponsored Amazon Basics, and then you have another Amazon Basics, and then you finally get to some other stuff. It's like, you know that they're kind of regulating that algorithm to push Amazon Basics to the top to sell their stuff to make more money. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah, I mean, if the government's not going to stop them, they're going to make more money doing that. Why would they not do it?
With like in-store stuff, when you have great value at Walmart, you can look at all of it at the same time instead of just
it's all there.
Yeah. All right, next.
All right. Only the federal government has the right to enforce immigration laws. I don't know, Zeb. Should we start a private company where we just round up illegals and throw them away?
Only the federal government, does it say should, or has the right?
Has the right to enforce immigration law.
I don't really like the way it's worded.
I mean, who else can, though?
I mean, would it not be militias?
I mean, like,
I mean,
I guess
states should be able to, like National Guard should be able to for sure.
I guess like if you had like a coyote, like someone from America who went into Mexico, or vice versa, like they're like, oh, we'll get you across the border, and then they just take them to a police station. I don't think they should get in trouble for something like that.
What if they deported them and didn't take them to the police station? They just took them to
They
the
just-
border and threw them over trebuchet them over the wall.
Well, I wouldn't be okay with them just dropping them in the middle of the desert, but I mean, if they dropped them off, like no
Taking
one
the
would.
ice.
No
Have you
one would
you
do
ever
that
seen the Amazing
consistently.
Racist video with
Yeah, I was
what's
just
the
thinking
Jew
that.
face?
I was just thinking that,
I mean,
where he was like, "Oh, we got jobs for you," and there's a big cage, like
good job
cartoon
all day.
cage.
Bring all of them. Drive up to ICE. ICE center, ICE office.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, I mean, if they're here, they need to go. I don't really care who takes them.
I agree.
Because obviously the federal government can't keep up with the numbers right now. He was on Fox News. Tom Homan talking about they did like 231 deportations the other day. It's like, dog, that ain't it. Those numbers ain't it.
Yeah,
that ain't it. All right,
yeah,
what you got?
that's not bragging rights. New York City should bring back stop and frisk policies.
Obviously,
Yeah, 100%.
no question,
They should bring back
Next.
billy clubs too.
dude. The entire police epidemic that we've had since the 90s has just been straight downhill, specifically 90s. I think in 93, they started this horizontal type police effort where they want to send police out into the community, go to these fairs, go to ball games, go to this and go play with the kids, go to basketball court and go play basketball with these kids. It's like it destroys that respect of hierarchy that exists. And so when these kids get older, that's not Officer Brown, that's Jack,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
And so the respect
that's my
is
neighbor.
lost. Yeah,
That's my buddy who we hang out at the
I don't remember
cookout,
what
and he
the
tells me
question
cop
was.
stories. Like if my cousin, who's a cop, pulled me over, I wouldn't be
stop
like,
and
"Oh,
frisk,
hello, officer, how are you today?"
yeah. It's
I'd be
like,
like, "Hey,
well, hierarchies exist for order, and when you reject that hierarchy, the question was stop and frisk. When you reject the hierarchy of, I have the authority to do the thing. I know there's a lot of anti-policing kind of going on now, and I don't even oppose all of it. I think there's an argument to be had, but the question is, I'm trying to answer is how did we get to that point? And I think that is how it's happened. And yeah, and this idea that profiling is bad. It's obviously not bad. I mean, if I got a blacked out tinted BMW, black rims, 0% tint, kind of riding down 80 miles an hour down the interstate, obviously I'm probably trafficking something.
yeah."
And in the same vein, if I have a U-Haul, maybe the U-Haul should be searched too. You probably trafficking something. So
Yeah,
profiling
and-
exists for a reason,
And my thing is,
and it works, dude.
Yeah, of course it works. Like shady characters, people that dress a certain way, get policed more for a reason.
If you don't want to get profiled, don't dress like that.
Wear a
That-
tuck in
set,
your
go.
shirt. Literally, that would stop it.
The Protestant Revolution did more good than harm.
More good than harm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not Catholic, but I see I would say, yeah, it did more good than harm.
Obviously it did.
Yeah,
The Catholic Church was way out of hand.
that's true. The way I see it now is it's
Way out
water
of
under
hand
the
and incorrect.
water under the bridge.
And incorrect in their theology.
That's true.
All right, next. Illegal aliens who have been in the U.S. for 10 plus years should be put on a path to citizenship.
They should be put on a path to the Atlantic.
Illegal aliens who have been in the U.S. for 10 plus years should be on a path to citizenship. No.
First off,
No.
they could do that.
No.
I mean,
they could,
We
yeah.
would say no, but like like I'm thinking of these questions from like a moderate person's point of view. Why aren't they doing that in the first place? If they're here illegally with the hopes of gaining citizenship,
Because
why
they still
not just get
they-
here legally and then go through the process?
Well, why would they when they have every right that a citizen has now?
yeah, exactly.
I mean, they can vote in federal elections all the way to the top. They get the free things that are handed out to everyone. I mean, they get free housing at 5-star hotels.
Yeah,
Next,
legals don't get that.
corporations have had more influence on our federal conflicts than politicians.
Foreign conflicts.
Foreign conflicts. Corporations have had more influence on our foreign conflicts than politicians.
If we were to rephrase it to foreign affairs, I would say that's completely accurate. At least in recent.
Well,
years.
I'm thinking Raytheon, Boeing, a lot of these defense contractors.
100%.
I mean, they have complete control. I mean, they use the politicians. I mean, I guess the politicians would be involved, but they're just puppets at that point. Yeah?
Yeah,
All right.
I agree.
One more.
Senators should be allowed to serve until death. Not currently.
That's a
That would have been a good one to pull out on Rodney.
senators should serve until death. I'm assuming that means not be reelected and serve
Just endless
like
terms.
the Supreme Court.
Yeah, that's what I took from it.
Josh is going to say no.
I said not now.
What do you mean not now?
Meaning like how our system is now. If it were a Christian nationalist system, then yeah, I'd be fine with it.
So if we were back in 1900, would you say that senators should be a for life seat?
I would go 1800s. 1900
I don't
might be a
know,
little too
man.
risky. How do you feel about it? Because
All right,
I thought you would
make
say
a
yes.
decision. Senators should be allowed to serve until death. All right, what you think I'm gonna say? You thought I would say yes.
I thought you were gonna say yes.
no. I think I'm gonna say no.
Now, if we're talking about what would be better, because I don't think this is the absolute. Like the question is yes or no, basically. And if it's yes or no, then I'm going yes. But if it's like you have a better option, I mean, so do I. Like if it were up to me, I'd say probably say no to
the
this.
current situation, or they serve until death on a singular.
Okay, if we're talking, this is passed today.
Yes.
March 27th.
Yes.
Then hell no.
What time? What day is it?
It's 27th.
27th, okay.
Yeah,
No, I don't know.
I'd say no if that's the case.
I'd probably say no too. I know that's heavy coming from me.
Yeah, I know. I'm a
kinda
little shocked.
I advocate no term limits, but I think term limits would be better. Wait, I think no term limits is better than serve until death, which is a different question. I said last one. Let's see what we got. Another civil war will happen, obviously. Speed round, Josh.
No, not going to happen.
I guess the question
Depends on how you define war.
Depends on how you define war.
Yeah, if it's a battle, then no. like where
Yeah, I think,
people with guns are going to
right.
be fighting each other in their hometowns.
I think
like
a civil
the
war
Civil
will
War.
happen, but I mean, we're not going to line up shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah,
Okay, that's easy. All right. Public executions are good for society.
I would say yes.
I would say obviously.
Yeah, that is
Bring them back, televise them, live stream them. Mandatory on CNN, Fox, MSNBC, any legacy media.
no.
Mandatory.
They'd have to have their own like channel, and it would be
Well,
like
they can have their own channel, but anytime it's happening, it has to be live streamed on those channels.
it would be like
that way the
television.
boomers don't get to escape it.
That would save local TV.
It would. We can use
Local
the funds from live streaming public executions to then fund more public executions.
Maybe
This sounds good to me.
Radio, it'd be like a play-by-play. You're like, oh, he's thrashing. There's lightning shooting out of his eyes, like in like Green Mile.
We can have a poll people could vote on.
smell.
We'll bring up somebody on the on death row, and we'll have a poll come up, and they get to choose how they are put to death. Guillotine, firing squad, electric chair, injection.
God. It's
Snort some fentanyl, whatever.
sign in, type in this code on your phone app, go to our website, type in this code, all these options of like execution. There's like it's like Fear Factor. There's like a revolving floor with like a tiger, piranha's acid.
Make Joe Rogan officiate the death sentencing. That'll be good. Give him a black robe.
2005 Joe Rogan when he had hair.
Let's go. Yeah. Let's do that. I think that's a good idea.
That'd be funny.
Incrementalism is more effective than immediate bans in outlawing abortion.
No.
Really?
Incrementalism is more effective than immediate bans in outlawing abortion. Well, it depends on what you mean by effective. Effective in changing public opinion or effective in stopping abortions?
Effective in stopping abortions.
I would say no.
I think the assumption of the question is, will it be passed?
Then yes, incrementalism would be better.
Okay.
But if it's
that's
like,
how I'm reading it.
okay, because
More effective than immediate bans in outlawing abortion. I mean,
it depends
the
on what you
answer,
also mean by bans.
The
too.
obvious answer would be,
if it were a ban at the federal level, then obviously that would be effective.
yeah, that's a badly worded question.
Yeah.
I think given the question, incrementalism is more effective than immediate bans in abortion and outlawing abortion is obviously not. Because if you just outlawed it, then that would be
effective.
Right. But I think the question is kind of asking in going
what's the
into
best way
effect.
to go about it?
I think incrementalism.
Yeah,
is-
incrementalism.
Universal basic income is the logical endpoint of our current economic system. Welfare on steroids? Is that what it's asking? Maybe.
So universal basic income, that's not the same as like a minimum wage. That means like everyone
Universal
makes the
basic
same.
income is what Andrew Yang was advocating for when he was running, where everybody in America receives X amount of dollars a month, $1,000, $1,500 a month. Like that's a universal basic income. That means that their argument was that it allows people to do creative things that they want to do outside of working all day every day, which is
that's retarded.
dumb because then they just won't work.
Yeah.
And it causes inflation because you're essentially printing money.
Yeah,
It makes life worse for everybody.
That like sci-fi goofy idea that
And
like
then
when
and
robots do everything,
And instead of
we'll
spending
be
it
artists.
on groceries, they're going to spend it on chains and Hellcats and shoes.
What are those things like the spiders? What do they call it? Like the backwards tricycles? It's three wheels with
the Can-Am tricycles. Are they spiders? I don't know.
What there's something.
I know what you're talking
they're called,
about.
like they got a weird name, but I saw one guy with three of those.
Dude, they love those things. Patent laws for pharmaceutical companies in the U.S. are too weak. Weak? No. Wait.
I think
They need to be weaker.
yeah,
I'm not a
I
huge
think they're
fan
too
of patent
strong.
laws. In general, especially against pharmaceutical companies. They're way too strong.
So this is actually something I thought of earlier, and I think I brought this up before, but I may not have, and stop me if I did. But didn't we talk about the Wright brothers and how I learned that basically, like, imagine if you and I were Orville and Wilbur Wright, and we invented like the modern day equivalent of what the airplane was to that time. So like, imagine we just invented like a spaceship that was so simple yet so advanced you could build it out of like old car parts, and it could take you across the universe instantaneously, and then we sold the patent for it and got $2 million in like the modern day currency level. Like they made like, I think it was like 150,000 back then, which is like the equivalent of 2 million today. Can you imagine that? Yeah. That's what they sold the patent for the airplane back then.
That's crazy, dude. Who'd they sell it to?
I don't remember, but it was like they did try to start their own company, you know, a la Thomas Edison, and it, you know, they weren't good like business managers. It fell through, so they just sold the patents.
Obviously, because they agreed to a garbage patent deal.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
yeah, I'm not huge on patents.
So I'm okay with, maybe not on medical innovations. There is a part of me that's like, you know, building a widget and then having the intellectual property for a widget, that's one thing. But like life-saving medicine, like, are people inventing life-saving medicines just to make money or because it's life-saving medicine? Now, I'm not saying you can't, you know, I'm not saying you get the idea taken from you, but like, and you don't get anything from it. But I'm saying, like, should people have monopoly on like the recipe for penicillin?
Obviously not.
Yeah.
There are unforgivable sins.
Blasphemy of the Holy Spirit.
The answer would be no. There's a singular unforgivable sin.
Blasphemy of the Holy Spirit.
Faith at some point involves a leap beyond that which can be reasoned.
Not necessarily, but
I would say no.
It depends. Because it not necessarily like an intellectual leap of faith.
Do I have faith that this chair is going to hold me up? A reasonable faith.
Hold on. I think not necessarily an intellectual faith in God, but like as a Christian, you might be called to do something, quit a job, break up with somebody, you know, do any manner of things because you feel called to by God as a leap of faith. Not necessarily like, oh, there's no good evidence for God, therefore my belief in him is a leap of faith.
Like taking a risk, an unreasonable risk.
Yes, where it's like by any logical means it doesn't make sense, but I have a genuine sense from God to do this.
I like doing this. We might get through all of them, Josh. We got just a couple to go.
Hey, we got someone in the chat.
What's up,
W's
Mr.
in the
Jones? Go ahead. Let's read chat.
People are willing to put a high price on saving their own lives, so it only makes sense that trickles down all the way through the market. At least some think that. Oh, he's probably responding to the patent thing about patent thing. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm not saying that like if you invent the cure to cancer that you should just give it away,
right?
But I don't think you should hoard it and make it $1 million a pop, you know?
Right. You shouldn't make it unachievable for people that need it.
I'm okay with maybe government price control on things to a certain extent. I don't think medicine should be free, but I don't think like insulin should be $1,000 a dose.
I was watching a video, and I might be able to pull it up here in a second, but basically, there was a pharmacist kind of making a series of videos on specific medicines where he was saying that he is a non-insurance pharmaceutical that sells at cost, and he was saying there were a couple of them, but one specifically was like $6,000 at a pharmacy where he was selling it for $200. Like that's a major issue, and I don't know if that's a patent issue, but it's definitely an issue. and
Yeah,
pharmacy
and-
and insurance, and the insurance companies kind of peddle this thing to where.
And that's where you
It
get into
happens.
corruption, because like if you and I started a lab in here and we were just creating insulin because we figured out, like, reverse engineered it and figured out how, and then we're selling it for way cheaper than what the competitors would be, they would get the FDA to come after us. And even if it were like 1-to-1
We've
or
become-
better,
well,
they
we've
would
become-
shut us down.
We've become such a culture of sue somebody that, I mean, I'm just not a fan of that in general too.
That would be funny if like people were selling insulin like drug dealers sell drugs. You know,
They probably are, dude.
I'm sure they
I'm
are.
sure some vets are out there, selling insulin and some other drugs that are kind of pet friendly, if you will, through vets that are. What was the COVID drug? Ivermectin.
Ivermectin.
Black
What's
market
going on?
ivermectin. Faith, hope, and charity are made available to those who love God. Faith, hope, and charity are made available to those who love God.
Those qualities would first, sarcasm. Second, I'm trying to describe a complex thought in a short sentence.
Yeah, dude.
Medical care,
Chat's rough
medical
like that.
insurance, medical regulators are all interconnected, so it only makes sense. It's so expensive. All that bureaucracy needs to be paid for somehow. Yeah, and that's kind of what we're saying is like we're not like
Yeah, the
against-
R&D has to be paid for too. Yeah, I agree with that. I think at a certain point, patents make it significantly worse.
I'm not saying, yeah, and I'm not even saying like, because now this question is getting us to almost defend the free market, but it's like I feel like putting the price of insulin versus the R&D costs, once that's factored in, manufacturing costs, I feel like the government putting some form of price cap on it would be okay. And not to say it wouldn't fluctuate during certain economic times, but like just saying one provider, one health and, one whatever makes it, sells it for an insane price. It does not cost that much to
makes
make.
it a difficult
I mean,
answer.
when I had a surgery a year ago and I got an itemized bill, I requested it. They were charging me like $100 for scalpels. They used 3 during my surgery. That's $150. Or no. It was like $150 each, and there were 3 for like a scalpel, a medical scalpel. It's like, okay, I can buy almost that a scalpel costs that much, but why were they using 3? They like, it just seems like everything is sort of price hiked,
$150 for a scalpel?
I
that,
don't.
a diamond scalpel?
That's my point.
I mean,
I'll run to Walmart.
like, honestly, you can
honestly,
use the one I get from Walmart.
just go in the break
I'll bring
room.
it next time I have surgery. How about that?
Just go in the break room and get a plastic butter knife.
Art and religion are related. Yeah.
Yeah.
Loosely.
Yeah. I mean, I
Dude,
think
there was a tweet going around of Mormon temples, and they were like nice, like extremely nice, surprisingly nice.
Mm-hmm.
But what they were, I think what they were, I guess I can describe them for you. It was pure white, like ivory colored. They were extremely tall, extremely high, the steeples, clean walls. The inside was just clean white, spiral staircase, white. But what it was it almost Scientology-esque. And it looked like what a cathedral would look like if you stripped the soul out of it. Does that make sense?
yeah.
It was a soulless building. Was it beautiful? Yeah, but there was nothing there. It was just
imitation
blank.
cathedral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looked like something a demon would build to represent God, or
Interesting. Yeah.
it was go look those up. They're weird. They're surprisingly odd.
Like right now, you mean? Or?
Sure, yeah. Google it. Let me see if I can pull it up. Well, let me see if I can get Safari on here. Eeny, meeny, miny. Where's it at? There's Chrome. Where's
Like
Safari?
that, kind of.
Yep, exactly like that.
But
Text that to me.
Sure.
No, not that one. Well, I mean, that's
This one.
yeah, sure.
Okay.
All right, text that to me.
'Cause
I'll
that-
pull it up on here.
That one looks real nice. That one looks like what is the like Oz from
Yeah, I mean
Wizard of Oz.
they're nice for sure. But it's like I don't know, man. It's just like it doesn't have a soul. It's just white ivory towers. It's like a building that looks like the Washington Monument.
Yeah, it's very marbly, but I get what you're saying, but I'm not quite there.
All right, this
Let
picture
me-
kind of
let me-
shows
let me do-
shows a little bit more life to it. I don't, dude. Just can you save the picture and send it to me? Let me see if it'll
Oh
let me
yeah,
do
yeah, yeah.
this.
Sorry about that. Give me 1 second.
Oh, it did. Okay,
There you go.
there it goes. How do I? interact
I've
with
got a
it?
perfect, and this.
Oh, there we go, dude. Let's try this then. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Let's do this. Nice. Something like that. All right, there we go. The sterilized nothingness of modern spirituality, supposed to represent enlightenment or some crap. I think the Orthodox Christians have a right with the religious icons used during their services. Yes, I think you're close. The Orthodox get it close with their respective tradition. I do think they take it a little bit too far with the iconography, though. But that's the issue, though, isn't it? That I don't think you can have one without taking it too far.
Even
Does that make sense?
Even I, who am like a total like stereotypical Protestant, I get the iconography stuff, but like, and I'm trying to stay away from blasphemy here, but like sometimes it comes across to me as like a placebo. You know what I mean? Like the procedural aspect of like the Catholic Church.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, it's almost like they're worshiping. You know, when it's repeatable, if you have one good experience, then they're all good experiences in church. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I'm mashing buttons over here. But yeah, I mean, look at this. It's not very large on the screen. Dude, I'm struggling. I'm struggling right now, Josh. Trying to figure out how this thing works inside of
There we go.
here. It's a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, it's like it's lost all its soul of a building. You know what I mean? Is it nice? Yeah. I mean, it's clean, it's tall, it's, you know, it's got some wonder to it, but there's no...
The Disney World castle has more soul in it.
It's like if they took the concrete government buildings and tried to build a church with that type set. It's a very modern, soulless building. And you can't deny how nice it is. I mean, that's a tiny one.
Maybe it's in my head because of Epstein Island, but like whenever I see palm trees with
A temple.
like with a temple, I get like just weird vibes. Maybe it's due to like Islam and Jeffrey Epstein, you know, like the Middle East religions like that and Judaism. But there's just something off about it to me. And that's probably psychological. I mean, obviously, I don't think there's anything satanic about palm trees, but there's just something about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do you get that vibe too?
Yeah. Enough on the Mormons. Somebody made the statement the other day that Mormons are America's Muslims.
I kind of get that.
I thought that was pretty good. Let's see, wrong one. I was trying to flip to here. All right, anyway, how many more you want to do with these, Josh? We'll bounce.
We're already at an hour and a half. Let's do 2 more and then we'll wrap it up.
Oh, what a mash.
Thank you for commenting, Gregory Jones II.
All right, we'll pick 2 more.
All right. I'll do one, you do one. Ah.
All right, what you got?
I got humans do not have free will. I think
Did you have free will to read that, Josh?
I very easily could have not, but but my brain was making. Yeah, obviously we have free will, so easy peasy.
Okay, these aren't any good.
Yeah. These are for like do it with your atheist.
The
friend
United
type
States
stuff.
has control over its borders.
No.
Freedom is the ability to do what you want. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Freedom is the ability to do what you want.
We're picking all the easy peasies.
Yes. Liberty is the ability to do what you ought to do. These are different things.
Right.
For better or worse, we navigate reality through emotion. I mean, I don't think I do.
So the way it's worded, it sounds like it's assuming we do this, which I think it's right.
For better or worse, we navigate reality through emotion.
I think emotion
I'm going to say no.
and logic are like they're both equally important, but emotion unchecked is too wrong, and pure logic devoid of emotion does not bring you to truth.
It says we navigate reality through emotion. I think if you navigate reality through emotion, you end up in a delusion.
Yeah.
So it has to be checked by logic. So I think
Yeah.
the answer should be no, we don't navigate reality through emotion.
Hold on. What, can you pull up? He just typed something in there.
Think emotional navigation is mostly true. Humans are rationalizing, not rational.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
that's kind of what we're saying.
If you categorize it like that, then I would say that's worse. But yeah, I agree. Meaning, like the way the question was worded was
he's
like
saying you can have rational emotion.
He's saying I think emotional navigation is mostly true. Then he's saying humans are rationalizing, not rational. Meaning,
Therefore, you
they
can
use
have emotion that is rational.
Yes.
I agree. It has. You're right. The emotions must be checked at some point.
Yes.
I guess we read
Unchecked
it as
emotion.
unchecked emotions.
Yeah.
Federal law should protect your right to sleep on any street in America.
No.
No. Jail. No, I mean dude. I mean the homeless.
Jail.
The homeless issue. Straight to jail. Straight to jail. Right to jail. I think the homeless issue is.
Oh, I remember what that's from. Right to jail. Right away. You go to sleep. Jail.
It's just a product of so much else. What was that stream we had the other day, Josh? It's a societal problem compounded by economic issues.
Yeah. Where the economics, they're not
Blame
the
Reagan. I
cause.
blame Reagan. Blame Reagan. We'll blame Reagan. Reagan needs to take more blame anyway.
I agree.
Lawmaking is inherently a religious exercise.
Yes.
Yes.
100%.
Lawmaking is inherently a religious exercise. Yes, it is.
Absolutely.
Lawmaking is inherently tied to morality. And I'm not arguing that you can legislate morality, but I will argue that you legislate immorality.
I agree with that as well.
Some religious doctrines are superior to others. Obviously.
Yes.
What do you mean?
Even if you're an atheist, you have to agree with that.
Humans rationalize their actions after the fact to justify their practical and obvious self-interested actions. They do not usually consider situation and the rational outcomes before acting.
Yeah, that's what I thought he was getting at when he said humans are rationalizing, not rational. Is they act on emotion
I see what you're saying.
and rationalize their response. That's what he
That
meant.
kind of plays into this idea I have of consciousness, where you have just somebody that's more self-aware than somebody else, where the more self-aware person, the more conscious person is able to rationalize the thing or be rational before the consequences of emotion happens, right? A self-reflexive person is going to be able to kind of control that a little bit more.
Yeah. Once you understand, once you're able to almost like not have like an out of body experience, but just kind of like
Take a step back.
Think about it, try and view like imagine somebody else telling you what you're thinking and feeling, and then how would you go off of that?
Women who meet the same physical fitness standards as men should be allowed to fight in military combat. Women who meet the same physical fitness standards as men should be allowed to fight in military combat.
No. What do you think?
I think it's an obvious no. The psychological effects of women being on the battlefield is detrimental, period. Even if they could be the strongest female in the physical fitness standards. But the fact that they are a woman has psychological effects on the men around them that harm them and the men around them.
Yeah.
Just by the nature of human beings.
It affects the mental aspect of the battlefield way more. Being in a battle is about a lot more than like picking up stuff.
Male cheerleaders should be banned.
Yeah, that's gay.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Gregory. I think physical is definitely a large part, and psychological is even more. But I would make the case that the vast, vast majority of them don't even make it to combat because they don't want to get deployed, so they get pregnant. There's plenty of men who are physically fit. Yeah.
Saying there's plenty of men who are physically fit and mentally unfit that are removed from military service. Perfect. Yep.
Male cheerleaders should be banned.
You know what? I just said it's gay, and it is gay, but it depends on like. It's wrong. It's sinful, but the ones that are kind of like
should
lifting
it be
them
banned? I mean, I would like to live in a world where this isn't
no
a
one would
question.
choose to do that.
This isn't a question.
Now, but be honest though, because
banned?
When I've never seen an actual cheerleader man that was like in the skirt and doing a dance.
No,
I only see them as the ones like lifting them up like
gymnast
this.
converts.
Yeah, they're usually like
they're gymnasts.
They're getting their hand up in
do
there and holding them up.
Cheerleading. That do flips and stuff, and they're usually wearing pants.
Yeah,
banned.
that's fine.
Yeah, I don't think we should ban it, but I would like to live in a world where that's not even an option. I guess maybe I'm advocating for banning it.
Get rid of cheerleaders.
Get rid of cheerleaders. That's controversial.
Unless it's like the cheerleaders of the 50s where they're like in church clothes and they're just like doing this.
Animals and even plants have souls, but they aren't like human souls.
No. But we were talking about, not yesterday, but my belief on idealism, where I do think that granted, I don't think anything is purely matter. I think that everything we experience to be as non-soul filled matter is actually a construct of God's mind. So there is like a mental aspect to it. So I do believe animals have souls, though. I do believe that anything that is conscious,
Greg.
anything that is conscious has a soul. Plants do not.
Anything that is conscious has a soul?
Yes.
I don't think animals are conscious, though.
You believe they're like
It's all
like
instinct and intuition.
no. Okay, like do they experience though? They are conscious of their experience, not self-aware, not like sentient in the same way we are, but like when a monkey is being ripped apart by a chimpanzee and it's screaming, is it feeling pain, or are we just watching like the simulation play out?
I mean, it's obviously feeling pain,
Right. So,
but I don't think that
anything-
denotes a soul.
anything
though.
that has experience is therefore conscious and therefore has a soul.
So you're basically saying their physical presence is linked to something other than physical presence.
No. What I'm saying is
Well, that's what a soul would be.
well, I believe that the body and soul, on my worldview of or metaphysical view of idealism, are actually the same. And when you die, at least on the Christian perspective, where there will be final judgment, you actually are dead. Probably, I mean, I don't know this for certain, but like, I do think there is an aspect. I mean, obviously, the brain and the soul are connected, right? You would agree with that?
Yes.
Like your brain state matches your soul
what
state.
I'm saying.
And I would just say, I would go a step further to say that on the like Christian idealism point of view, it's all soul. What we experience as this desk, these microphones, this is matter that proceeds from God's mind. Like God is basically imagining our universe, but it's not like how we imagine things where it's like a vague, cloudy image in our mind. It's like a perfect, realized, imagined world. But what separates us from the matter is our experience, is the fact that we are conscious.
Yeah,
so
we
in the
did have
same
this
way,
discussion the other day.
yeah. So in the same way,
this kind
I
of
think
the
animals
video
have
you wanna
souls.
do.
I don't think animals necessarily go to heaven
Well, what
or
happens
go to
to their
hell. I
soul
think
when
they
they die?
So in the same, so perfect, because this is a big holdup problem that a lot of Christians have, and I had it for a long time. But basically, it gets down to this.
I don't have it because I don't think they have souls.
Well, but what I'm saying is this. Let me finish. Is that
Why you want to create
Hold on,
more
hold on.
issues, Josh?
hold on,
Just kidding. Go ahead.
hold on. If God can create souls, meaning our souls are not past eternal like God's, He can create them. Why can't He destroy them? Meaning, when we die, it does. Once God creates us, what in Scripture, what in philosophy, what logically says that we then must live forever, whether it be heaven, whether it be hell.
Because
why can't we just
I would say
cease to
forever
exist?
isn't a thing outside of
No.
our
Yeah,
reality.
I'm saying, like, so when we die, God will judge us.
Well,
right?
to destroy a thing like that, it would have to never have existed.
No, not true.
Yes, true.
Why? What about a soul must exist once it's created? Are you saying if God, I mean, obviously, if God didn't want someone to exist, they never would have in the first place. But logically, if God created someone with the intent of their soul being destroyed eventually, are you saying He couldn't do that? God could not, and destroy is a harsh word, but God could not allow a soul to no longer be.
You're playing with time here.
Sure.
And the question kind of hinges on how you perceive time from God's perspective. And I think that for a soul to exist, it must always exist.
Okay, yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, it must exist at some point in time.
And
but as
because
Christians,
it exists at some point in time, it will always exist.
it will always have existed at that point in time.
No, it always exists. It always is.
Okay.
Post the beginning.
If you're God looking at the world right now, you and I exist.
I knew you before I created the earth.
Yes, because even though when you're looking at the timeline, it's like a painting. God sees it as it always is and always will be. But we exist at a certain location. We exist at a certain location on the painting that is Florence, South Carolina. We do not exist in Bangladesh right now. So that's like saying, well, so we exist just because a tree exists for 100 years on Earth on the painting doesn't mean it will exist forever future within the painting. Does that make sense? Like, heaven is eternity future. Hell is eternity future. God can create.
We're not talking to heaven and hell. We're talking about souls. We're talking about. I think a spiritual plane doesn't house souls. I think souls are under an umbrella plane. And so this is outside of the question of time, because time is then removed. So if it has ever existed, it then does exist.
Well, sidebar. I think the postulation of an umbrella dimension or whatever you want to call it, I don't think so, because that would imply like that's where God is. But if God is in a dimension, that means the dimension is higher than him. If he exists somewhere,
the dimension is God.
Okay, then we agree. So we're just kind of banging out definitions here. But I would say, but then it's not helpful to call it like an umbrella space.
Well, it's just housed inside of. Okay, yeah,
it's God. Or like it's within God. Because God, we would both, I don't know if you're familiar with this term, but like we would both be something called panentheists, which is that, not that God is the universe, but that God is existence. God is existence
in the
itself.
Beginning was the Word.
Yes. That God is existence
God
itself.
is the Logos, right?
So I want to make sure we're on the same page here about when I say a soul can be destroyed. I'm saying if my soul came into existence at the moment of my birth or conception, whenever they do, and God said...
See, I don't think that. I think they've always existed. I think souls that have existed since the beginning. They existed at creation.
No. And I'll tell you, so he said he knew us before he created the world. But that's because he exists at all points in time, not because we existed before the world. I
disagree.
If I were a time traveler,
I agree with your perspective on that. I just disagree with.
So you understand the logic, though?
Yeah.
Okay. So in that sense, it's logically consistent on my point of view for God to, when I say destroy a soul, I mean God could logically, for whatever reason, he wouldn't do this, but he could. It's logically consistent for God to say, this person is neither going to heaven nor hell. They just will no longer be.
No, see, I don't think that's logically consistent.
Why not?
Because the soul is, to an extent, a part of God.
Our souls? when you think of soul as like almost a substance, I get where you're coming from. But
right, so we have spiritual bodies that
Do you think-
we will be housed in the spiritual realm. It'll be our habitation, our homes.
mm-hmm.
The soul doesn't exist in a spiritual realm. The soul doesn't exist in heaven. The soul doesn't exist in hell. The soul doesn't exist in our universe, our realm. The soul doesn't exist as a thing because it's not a thing in itself.
Yeah, like when you
And
think
so
of
you
a soul
there's
as
nothing,
like
there's
Tom
no
and Jerry,
destruction to be had.
well, like, so what I mean is like all right. I define a soul as you, your spirit, the thing that is Zeb Boykin, not your body, but you.
Well, it's a collection of all three.
Yes, I mean, well, there's something about people or everything. Well, I would say everything, but for the sake of argument, let's just say people. You have memories, and you know you could get brain damage and forget things, but there's something about Zeb Boykin. And it is
I would say it's
your
still retained.
experiences.
I would still say it was retained even in brain damage.
I think so too.
Because I believe the brain is a conduit for that which is a
So
soul.
you have experiences, you have memories. I have experiences, I have memories. You know, we're in the same room. Our experiences are definitely connected due to how far away from we are from each other. But if God were to eliminate all of that, your body, your experiences, your memories, you would no longer exist in any sense. Could he do that? Logically, he wouldn't, but could he?
The soul will still exist, though.
I don't think so.
Then it doesn't exist prior to
No.
conception.
I'm trying to understand what you mean by a soul. You don't remember anything from before you were born.
Correct.
So what about you existed before you were born? Do you think there's like almost like a spiritual matter that would like a line that's just empty, and then you're born and then it's filled with experiences, and then you die and you
You're
go to
trying
heaven,
to
and
put
there's
it
more
on. You're trying
experiences?
to put it in a spiritual. You keep trying to put it in a spiritual plane. It's not a spiritual thing. The spiritual plane is
Okay.
still somewhat localized.
Do you think there's a difference between soul and spirit?
Yes.
I don't think so. And I think soul is a word used in the Bible to describe our fallen nature. So I'll just say spirit. Do you think the spirit can be destroyed? Do you think that God can erase your experiences and memories and everything about you in 2 days? He's going to do this, and you're gone. You don't then go to heaven as a ghost or spirit. You don't then go to hell. You're just gone. Can God do that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. And so with that in mind, once you kind of get that idea of like what a soul,
Yeah, but
spirit,
how do
whatever you
you-
want to call
I
it
don't
is,
see how you-
animals have that too.
I don't see how you
But he could get rid of them.
I don't see how you equate soul and spirit, though.
Okay. So I do think it depends on the context. So context, like if we're talking about, if we're in church and we're saying, I'm a man, I have a God nature.
I mean,
I
so
have a
when it says
godly
we're
nature.
mind, body, and spirit, or we're soul, body, and spirit, you
No.
equate those?
I agree, but I don't think that, how do I put this? To me, those things are kind of like saying you are Zeb Boykin, you are a brother, father, and husband. Those are all true things about you. Does that make sense? So like you have a body, and the body is one aspect of you. The soul is one aspect of you. The spirit is one aspect of you. But what those things are is the spirit is the godly aspect with it, your godly nature, the fact that you were created by a good and loving God, his essence that is implanted within. You know, the word of God is written on the hearts of all men. Everything good about him is what's good in you. We have a fallen nature and we talk about that like our mind, like our soul.
We're gonna have
our
to
sinful.
We'll have to do a whole stream on this.
But basically,
this isn't a
when
15-minute discussion.
But when we talk about our experiences, the mental aspect of our existence, I don't think there's two separate parts of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that.
Yeah, that and that's and then my view just kind of expounds on those beliefs. So it'd be a good show. We'll have to do a deep dive on this sometime. I know behind the scenes, I've been talking about doing a video on it for a while, and I've been doing some doodles and things to kind of get ready for it. But damn, this is our longest stream yet.
Hit 2-hour mark. Thank you for joining us. If we said anything stupid, we apologize. I apologize for Josh. I apologize for myself. Thank you for joining us. I'll be better prepped tomorrow. Rodney will be here. Join us 3 o'clock, 2:30. I don't know. Show up. We'll be here.
See you tomorrow.
Hold on. Where's it at? I got my stuff all mixed up. Nope. Nope. Why is it not working? There we go.